Hello and welcome, Solid Source. It is Derek Varnadoe here, and guess what? Pop quizzes are back. So we heard you, and pop quizzes are fun way to learn. So this is going to be a pop quiz over the 2021 GAR Purchase and Sale Agreement. So don't forget to like this video, leave me a comment if you would like to see more of these. Maybe we'll do some others, but keep in mind, if we do others, they're going to get a little bit harder every time. But here we go with the first one, and this is just a warm-up question. All of the following are new forms that GAR created in 2021, except which one of the following? And agreement to reinstate contract, seller's disclosure of latent defects and fixtures checklist, amendment to due diligence period. So all of these are forms that exist, but all of them are new forms for this year, for 2021, except which one? If you guessed C, you are correct. So amendment to reinstate contract, absolutely love that form. If a contract terminates and the parties want to go back under contract, instead of having to write a whole new contract, you can use that form. And of course, for sellers who perhaps don't feel comfortable completing a full-length disclosure statement, can still get the benefit of including a fixtures checklist in that new condensed seller's disclosure form F302. All right, so question number one, the only date or deadline that is automatically extended by virtue of falling on a weekend or a holiday is due diligence, financing and appraisal, or closing. This one might be too easy because if you guess C, closing date, you are correct. Which of the following is the most popular choice when selecting a time frame for earnest money to be delivered to the holder? So earnest money time frames: A, as of the offer date; B, within X, perhaps 2 or 3 days from the binding agreement date; or C, within 48 hours from expiration of the due diligence period. If you guessed B, within blank days from the binding agreement date, you are correct. Usually 2 to 3 days is going to be standard. Earnest money of the offer date, not something that most brokers are going to recommend, that we recommend. So definitely going to be B on question number 2. Number 3, so if client is marked for the type of brokerage relationship between the broker and the buyer, which of the following is true? A fiduciary duty is owed to the buyer; B, a separate written brokerage agreement should exist; or C, a commission is due to broker at the time of closing. What do you think about this one? I'm going to say B, and it's B. A separate written brokerage engagement should exist. So that's why a lot of times you'll hear us say the brokerage relationship should be established no later than the time of making the offer, so that the offer is 100% correct. It is absolutely not true that we owe a fiduciary duty. That is a common misconception here in Georgia. That is not true. And technically C, and most oftentimes a commission is going to be due to the broker that's representing or working with a party, but that's not always the case. Representation and compensation are technically two different things, but commission is set forth in the brokerage engagement. Look at it this way: a listing agreement is a brokerage engagement, and that includes the commission. And typically here in Georgia, a seller is the party who pays the commission. So moving along, question number 4, if a conflict exists between special stipulations and an attached exhibit, which would prevail? Special stips, exhibit, or the term is void unless the contract is amended? That's actually going to be A. Special stipulations would prevail. All right, so question number 5. When a buyer agrees to cover any shortage between the offer price and the property's appraised value, this is what we refer to as appraisal contingency, appraisal gap clause, or appraisal waiver. So if you've been following our channel and you've been watching some of our other videos, this one might be a little bit too easy for you because it is going to be B, appraisal gap clause. And you're going to hear me say, don't recommend appraisal gap for FHA or VA buyers because of the amendatory clause, which is a blanket appraisal contingency that we can try to override with special stipulations, but we can't really ever escape it because the lender is going to come back and ask for their own separate amendatory clause to be signed. So, number 6, the most common method for including the legal description is referencing which of the following: deed attached as an exhibit, deed book and page number, or plat book and page number. If you guessed most common method for legal description B, deed book and page number, you are correct. And usually this is because it's the easiest, quickest one to find. Deed book and page number are usually going to be referenced in the last market history when you were looking at the tax records from the MLS. Number 7, the binding agreement date is 7/4, so this is an example here, 7/4/2021, and earnest money is due to the holder within 3 days, which is true. A, funds are due by 11/59 on 7/6. What about B, funds are due by 11/59 on 7/7? Or C, if funds are not delivered, the seller may terminate immediately. All right, so it's going to be B. So 3 days from the binding agreement date. So the GAR contract uses the word from when measuring days, which is a key word. So 3 days from the 4th, 5, 6, 7 would be the 7th. And our last question here, prior to referring a prospective buyer, seller, landlord, tenant, whatever the case may be, to another broker, which of the following is true? A broker-to-broker referral agreement must be signed. B, the prospect's written permission must be obtained. Or C, all of the above. So this is talking about referrals, and this is really honing in on unfair trade practices in the rules and regulations of the Georgia Real Estate Commission. So if you guessed B, the prospect's written permission must be obtained, that's actually true. We oftentimes tend to always remember the broker-to-broker referral agreement because that form confirms the commission and the acceptance of the referral, which is great to have, but really the key one that Greg would be looking for that would be an unfair trade practice violation if we did not obtain it would be the written permission of the party to be referred prior to being referred. And the cool thing about GAR's referral authorization form, that's what they call it, is that it also discloses that we may receive a compensation for referring that party. So how did you do? Let me know in the comments below.